Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis. Smiley. Tonight we continue our conversation with R&B singer D'Angelo. The multiple Grammy Award winner dropped his long-awaited third album, Black Messiah, last December. He joins us tonight for part 2 of his first televised conversation in over 10 years. We're glad you've joined us. The conclusion of our conversation with the brilliant artist D'Angelo. Coming up right now. I like that, Linda. Not air, ear.
Ear pollution.
Ear pollution.
That's nice.
Yeah, Linda told me that. Tell me, we talked about last night, you're growing up in a black church, but that black church was situated in a city called Richmond. And I want to get a sense of, yeah, exactly. I want to get a sense of how growing up in that, how much growing up in that area impacted the D'Angelo that we know today, the surroundings. I mean, we all are the sum total of our experiences, but tell me about growing up in.
I grew up in South Side Richmond.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough. You know, my parents split up when I was pretty young, so growing up, my brothers, I have 2 older brothers, and they're 5 and 7 years older than I was. So after my parents split up, I was the youngest, of course. I did a lot of moving back and forth from my father and mother. So I went to go live with my mother by myself, while my brothers were, you know, my oldest brother was graduating from high school. So it's kind of tough, you know, for me growing up in the city of Richmond. But, you know, you adapt to your surroundings. I mean, you know, a lot of people get it twisted because of my church background. You know, yeah, I grew up playing in the church, but I wasn't no choir boy. So you know, I'm a PK. So it wasn't that hard for me to get into trouble. You know what I mean? So
I hear that. I hear your point. Part of what troubles me, to your point, is that I see too many artists who want to project a certain image, and the image is not really consistent with who they are and how they grew up.
Right.
But for the sake of record sales, they want to project, you know what I'm talking about here.
Absolutely.
They want to project a certain image because that's what they are told they need to project.
That's what it, yeah. That's
exactly,
what
get the bottom line. But I'm trying to figure out then how it is that you know, again, you grew up in the church, as you said, you ain't a choir boy, and yet your music still has it's got that edge to it, but it ain't gangster. I mean, it's infused with love.
Yes.
When I hear it.
Yes.
How does that end up being the kind of music that you give us, as opposed to you having given us something else?
Like I said, I started out back in the day as an MC, you know, so hip-hop is very much in the nucleus of what I do. And it's all about being true to yourself, or at least the type of hip-hop that I grew up with. That's what it's about. And to me, the strongest, most gangster, most revolutionary motivation on this planet is love. Period. So you know, if you're really being pure about that, you know, there's nothing to hide or be ashamed of. You know what I mean? So.
See, love. I mean, I am always amazed by this, and it sounds like a simple enough point to make, and I suspect it is. And yet, I am always blown away by how inexhaustible the notion of love is when it comes to art. That true artists, all these years later, still find ways to talk about love, to write about love, to sing about love. It's such an inexhaustible subject. The challenge, of course, is to find your own unique way to do it.
That's right.
So when you go into the studio from one project to the next, does the stuff come to you with any sort of ease, or are you struggling to figure out what the next iteration of your work is going to be? How do you figure that out from one project to the next?
Yeah, you never struggle. Prince told me one time, I was finishing up Voodoo, and I was you know, kind of stuck. Like I was almost done, but stuck at a little. And he told me, and I was on the phone with him. And I was like, you know what? I think. And he said, don't think. That's it. Don't think. Thank you. It just takes a lot of that struggle out of it.
Yeah.
And so you just
be.
Yeah. You shut it down. Shut your mind. Shut all that down.
Yeah.
And just let it come through you.
Yeah.
You know. And if it's real, if it's pure, and if it's true, if you just stand true to you, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You mentioned Prince's name more times. I stopped count about 13.
Can't help it.
No, I love it. I love that between last night and tonight. And I haven't asked you as yet. I think I get it, but I want to hear it from you directly. What is it about him that made him the guy you couldn't get enough of? What is it about his music?
When I was growing up, well, when I was coming up, I started really playing at like 5 years old, right? So by that time, I think he had just dropped his second album, I Want to Be Your Lover. But up until then, my first musical loves were, I was just a little kid, but my first musical love was the Bee Gees. There was
There's that falsetto.
That falsetto. There you go. There was a local group from Richmond. They were a quartet group named Maggie Ingram and the Ingramettes. And the Ingramettes were the three sisters, the three daughters of Maggie Ingram. And they sang way up high in the high register. They were awesome. And the third one was Walter Hawkins.
Ooh, come on now.
So
That's the love, yeah. That's
so
the love center.
yes, Love Alive.
Love Alive, man.
Absolutely.
Good Lord.
So when I heard Prince, the first time I heard Prince, those three being my musical loves. So when I first heard Prince, it was like it was made for my ears. My ears were already trained to receive everything he was doing. The falsetto, just all of that. All those elements were right there.
So you don't mess me up when you mention Walter Hawkins now.
Oh my
so
God.
I got to detour just for a second. So if you've never heard Walter Hawkins, just Google him. Finish watching the conversation first. Then go Google Walter Hawkins and just listen to Walter and Edwin and Tremaine. Just listen to some Hawkins, and it will. I tell you, it will change your life.
Yes, sir.
It will fundamentally change your life. Listen to the Hawkins out of Oakland, California.
Oakland.
But when you, I'm curious as to what you heard, because I remember as a kid, the very first time I heard Andre Crouch. Now, I'm raised in a traditional Pentecostal church, but I hear Andre pushing the limits on gospel.
Pushing the limits.
Rance Allen, love Rance Allen. I'm hearing Andre, I'm hearing Rance. Then the Clark sisters break out of Detroit. You got the Hawkins out of Oakland. But when you hear Walter, since you mentioned him, what was it about his music? You're playing in the church, but what were you hearing when you heard Walter Hawkins and Love Alive?
What I heard back then was funk.
Yeah.
It was funky.
Yeah.
They were bringing the elements of funky music and stuff that we heard on the radio and making it for the church. It was like it predated the Winans and the Kirk Franklins.
Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, and all
exactly.
the guys.
So that was and Andre Crouch as well. So, and okay, when I was young, going to my father's church, the older folk in the church, they didn't like Walter Hawkins.
Of course not.
It was too racy for them.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was controversial. So I think as a kid, that's what kind of drew me to it. You know.
Yeah. Have you ever had thoughts? It's too late now. But have you ever had thoughts about being anything other than the artist that you are? Are there any other domains, any other journeys?
I love movies.
Yeah.
I love movies.
So that means you'd be what? I mean, there are a lot of roles. Are you actor, director? Like
Director.
Director.
Yeah.
So you could see yourself doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big time.
Speaking of movies, how did, going way back now, how did videos, one video in particular, change your life for the better, for the worse?
Well, in particular, let's talk about Untitled, because that was the one that kind of took it there. It was all good. I think a lot has been made about me reacting to, or me, you know, being negative to the reaction of that video, and it really wasn't that. You know, too big a deal has been made out of that, and it really wasn't that as much as it. I think, in a lot of ways, it would bother me a lot of times live when we were touring for Voodoo, and I had this amazing band, the Soultronics. Questlove was the drummer. Pino, of course, I had the incomparable Roy Hargrove on trumpet, and Frank Lacey on trombone. Just an outstanding band, and we were doing this amazing stuff musically, and a lot of times the crowd or a lot of the ladies were just screaming, "Take it off," and you know, I kind of felt like you know, for lack of a better thing, like a male stripper, you know what I mean? Or I expected to be that, you know what I mean?
You felt objectified.
Objectified, I mean.
Which is what women feel every day.
That's not, I wasn't mad at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's, you know, funny.
I think that I'm a serious artist.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line to walk that. But you know, I accept that. I mean, this is the realm that we're in.
Yeah.
So
we're back to that conversation we had earlier about oftentimes fans unwittingly even trying to box the artist in, and that's just not who you are.
Right.
You know, you on to something else. We did that. We on to the next.
That's right.
I get that.
There you go.
I get that.
Yes, sir.
What do you love most? I got 2 minutes to go, and I can do this for another night. What do you love most about performing live? Because when I see you on stage, it's like that's like heaven for you. That's what it looks like to me and feels like to me.
You got it right, man. And you know, the business, a lot of times the road, it can be very, very stressful and hectic, and there's a lot coming at you. But that's the one place, that's the one time when I know I'm in the driver's seat. I'm driving, you know.
You ride the track.
I'm riding it, and I'm riding the track like a Cadillac. And the band, I'm playing this band, this amazing band with these amazing musicians. And yes, I think during all of the rigmarole and all of that, that's the most freeing time. That's the time I feel the most free.
Yeah.
And the most, I would say, not in control, but just like I'm driving the car.
Yeah. So I'll get you on camera here, just making a bold prediction. How long does D'Angelo predict before the next project? I'm gonna hold this tape and see how long it takes. But how long does D'Angelo predict before the next project will come out? And please don't tell me 14 years.
I will quote Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
How long? Not long.
I like to hear that. I like, first of all, you can quote King on my show anytime. And when it comes to you telling me it ain't gonna be long for another project, that's good news to my ears. But I can tell you this: if it took him another 5 years, it wouldn't really bother me, because I'm gonna groove this thing for so long. Ooh. It's a powerful piece of work. It's called Black Messiah from D'Angelo and the Vanguard. As I've been saying for 2 nights now, it's a beautiful, beautiful, scintillating piece of work, and I highly recommend it. And D'Angelo, I am honored. I know I want to close where I began a couple nights ago. I know you don't do this often.
Yes, sir.
And from my heart to yours, I hope, I appreciate you choosing this venue to have this conversation.
Brother, let me tell you something. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here. I love what you do. Please, man, keep on. We need you. We need you, sir.
Don't make me cry now.
Thank you.
All right. I feel like a sister at a D'Angelo concert right now. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep the faith.